You're gonna have to excuse the noise. There's a big machine running nearby, but I decided I wanted to make my own what do you call them, flush mount tracks. That's kind of the shape they have, and this is kind of where they look. I've never really seen one up close, but I just figured, why can't I just cut it all the way through and just leave the ends connected. This was my first attempt. You can see where it bounced away from the router. So I used a 1/4 inch cut, and then on the bottom side a 1/2 inch cut, but it was just acting so bad that I gave up. And this is made out of 1/2 inch cutting board. The trick is cut your grooves in first, and then cut the piece to size. And all you got to do is it's really messy though. You use a 1/2 inch straight cut and a 1/4 inch straight cut. And wherever you set your guide, that's where these are my marks. So I bring the board over and I start, and then I push down on it so it starts there, and then I push it over until it gets to here, and then it stops. That way I have the end piece still left on it. They're not even, but I don't care. They're just gear tracks. But you use the exact same spot for both. If you want it a little wider, just move this a little further. The first ones I made were kind of narrow. They actually came out pretty good. The first ones I made are kind of narrow, but you get the idea. They're gonna work. Screw there, screw there, screw there, screw there, screw there, screw there. So these are my first ones, and I started thinking, well, maybe they're a little too narrow, so I made a couple of wider ones. So these will have a little bit better screwing and more power. But I also thought I'm gonna want some singles too, so I made me some smaller ones just for a single item, like maybe a drink holder, depth finder, whatever. These are a couple more of the small ones in the narrow size. So yeah, it's just a 1/2 inch straight cut and a 1/4 inch straight cut. But the trick is to cut the grooves first, and take your time. Don't rush it, because then it's going to jump. I think one of these had a jump right there, but I don't care, because that's just the part where you put your. And to what I'm going to use for these is the toilet bowl. Go to the plumbing section and get the toilet bowl bolts. They're actually, the head of the bolt is actually shaped like that. And then get some stainless steel wing nuts. And they work perfect. I'm going to make one of these with this groove out here. And I'm going to leave it whole, because I'm going to mount this to my kayak, and this is going to stick off the side of my kayak to hold my anchor. It's just a 4-inch piece of PVC, but I'm going to put it to where it's outside of the kayak and out of the way and behind me, so I'm not hitting it with the paddle. Maybe in front of me, I don't know. But this is my idea for homemade gear tracks. If you've got a router, don't try to do it freehand, because it's not going to work. Do it on a router table, even if you just buy a little cheapy one. They're called router table, jigsaw table. You'll figure out a way of mounting your router on it. But look how many gear tracks I could make out of this. I probably could make a long one out of that. Maybe I'll do that next. But this one here is going to have one on the end like this. Actually, maybe even this way. Maybe do it this way. And then this will be mounted to the kayak. For that matter, I could probably mount this to a gear track and be done with it. So that's my idea for homemade gear tracks, because when you Google it or you YouTube it, everybody's showing you how to make crap that goes on here. I know how to make the stuff that goes on there. What I wanted was my own gear tracks, and here you go. 1/2 inch cutting board. So imagine if a 1/2 inch cutting board costs 20 bucks. That's 20 bucks right there of gear tracks. But look how many you can make. I mean, you'll probably screw up the first couple, but once you get the groove and how fast to move, you'll come up with some pretty good ear tracks.